Well, a new poll confirms what, if you've got Google, you already knew. Joe Biden was a placeholder candidate, a person people have affection for, they tolerate, but don't necessarily think should be their standard bearer in an election. According to the New York Post, a new national poll of Democrats finds that 56% of Democratic voters would like Biden replaced on the ticket by Governor Andrew Cuomo. The governor's unofficial presidential campaign is getting a ton of free advertising from CNN.
Now, you know, I've seen you referred to a little bit recently as the love gov, and I'm wondering if that's bleeding into your demeanor at all, making you a little soft on the president.
I've always been a soft guy. I am the love gov. I'm a cool dude in a loose mood. You know that. I just say, let it go. Just go with the flow, baby, you know.
This is called the process of humanizing a candidate. Everyone takes Andrew Cuomo seriously. He's a pretty serious guy. He's doing meaty briefings on TV every day. But the question is, could I like a guy like that? And that's when it really helps to have a brother who works in television. The Love Gov had him smoothly tee up his presidential aspirations right on CNN. Watch this.
Are you now giving different consideration to running for president?
No.
So you are still not thinking?
But why?
Well, it's definitely a good question.
Well, I am thinking. I'm a thinking being. I'm thinking about a lot of things.
I bet.
I'm not that politician who says, yeah, I want to, it's all about me and next step on the ladder. Love Gov says, no way. I gave my word, and my word is good. I'm not your typical guy. Don't laugh. You're going to pay, Chris. One day you're going to be better.
I'm not one of those governors who thinks about, I don't know, being president or anything. The question is, this is a serious legal question, actually. Is CNN reporting any of these segments as in-kind contributions to the FEC? That's a political campaign ad you just saw. Are they admitting it? Buck Sexton hosts the Buck Sexton Show. We're happy to have him on with us tonight. Buck, thanks so much for coming on. So thanks, I just want to be clear, we've kind of laid off the CNN host over there. He has the coronavirus. He's broadcasting from his house. I admire that. I wish him well. I feel sorry for him being trapped down there. So leaving that aside, and I mean it, having a presidential candidate on your show and humanizing him in the way that they're doing, in a really kind of transparent political way, why is it different from a campaign ad?
Well, it's not. I think you could make the case that CNN is effectively an ongoing contribution to the DNC. I think that the pretense that CNN clings to, just as an organization, that, for example, their primetime lineup, and anybody can try this, and some of them, by the way, some of the hosts are very aggressive on Twitter, so you could actually, you at home, you could probably ask, and you might even get an answer from some of the more thin-skinned ones. You could say, are you a journalist or are you an opinion host? CNN is really alone of the networks in having people that are clearly opinion, but act as though they're journalists, and think that then that gives them a pass for things like exactly what you're talking about, which is being effectively a propaganda arm of the DNC or of a specific Democrat candidate. I mean, I actually worked at CNN during the 2016 election, believe it or not, and what was being said off and on air in favor of Hillary Clinton and against Bernie Sanders was jaw-dropping. And then, of course, we found out that there was at least one case of someone giving questions. So there was a lot of bad behavior in that regard, but we don't think that CNN's ever going to be held responsible for this. They're clearly doing everything they can to stop Trump from getting reelected. And if that means somebody stands in for Biden, Tucker, I think they're willing to help that effort, too.
You make a really smart point. I mean, we just had Bret Baier, who's our chief political correspondent, on. I couldn't wring up an opinion out of him. I tried. He just won't give his opinion, period, because he's a news guy, period. There's not one person on CNN like that, not one. Is there?
No, not in the primetime lineup. What's amazing is they cling to the old model of thinking that they're just being they're so right in their opinions that that's objectivity, which is both delusional and a little scary. But I would say this, there's also a broader issue here, and I don't want to get into, people are now trying to rewrite the history of who said what about the pandemic, and, conservative media was wrong, and that's a complete, that's ridiculous, it's a farce. But even beyond that, the lack of trust that we have now in objective news media that claims to be objective, at least, that has been a big problem, because of course there's a sense that these people are pushing an agenda at places like CNN. Of course, there's an understanding that there's, I mean, so it's absurd to think otherwise. So then when we get lectured and talked down to for saying, well, hold on a second, when, for example, Nancy Pelosi holds up funding for American small businesses and they change the headlines to reflect that it's a stalemate, we all know what that's about.
Because they're completely in the tank. Buck Sexton, great to see you. Thank you.
Thanks, Tucker.